morning, beloveds. Got distracted. They're doing Ruth Bader Ginsburg's memorial on TV right now. So we were watching a little bit of that. And it's interesting. It was interesting. I didn't know she was Jewish. You know, if I'd thought about the name, I probably would have realized that, but just she has literally woven herself into the fabric of our country with the number of people that she's trained and what she's done, and completely, yeah. And one of the things that I will go ahead and remind you is nobody's flawless. Everybody's perfect, because perfect just means whole, but nobody's flawless. And so, because I've already seen some negative things about her, and it happens. What we have to do is look at the balance. Is the balance of what she has done good? And then we will forgive her for her few failings. And that's grace. That's what grace is. Grace is when you look at the balance of what you have done over your life. Have you done more good than you've done harm? And be forgiven. So, Mother Teresa springs to mind, because she has said and done some wonderful things, and some of the things that she did were pretty awful. So, you know, I will still count her among my heroes for the reason that she did the balance was to good. The balance was to good. And you can say that about just about anybody. Some of the teachers in Science of Mind, they held a couple of opinions that you're going to go, wait, what? Is the balance of what they taught. And then what we do is we take the good and we acknowledge the not so great, and we take the good and we go forward. So that's my take on people. We are human. We are spiritual beings here having a human experience. We are going to make mistakes. Does the balance of the good that you have done outweigh the mistakes that you've made? And have you owned up and tried to make right the mistakes you've made? And we can't ask anything more of you than that, because if we ask you to be flawless, we are asking you to do something inhuman. So when you make mistakes, you are human. Forgive yourself, make it right as best you can, and move on. All right. It is September 23rd, and it is Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday. Tropical Storm Beta has thrown off I'm not sure what day it is, because I didn't get to go for any exercise yesterday. It would have been a run day, but yeah, it was raining. Today, it was raining when I got up, and we went ahead and got dressed as if, and it stopped enough. We went ahead and wore rain protection, but went for that walk. So I didn't let a little dripping stop me. So, September 23rd, Wednesday, I have faith in the invisible. And our Bible quote is, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." And that is from Hebrews 11:1. So, this passage from Hebrews means that faith rightly exercised will produce a definite evidence or effect, molded from an invisible cause that is the substance of all things. Faith produces evidence. Therefore, faith creates fact. This is the sum and the substance of his spiritual life. To teach this was the mission of Jesus. To illustrate or demonstrate it, he devoted his entire time and attention. What untold watching and waiting was his. What careful and painstaking control of his thought, we do not know. In the desert sun, on the mountaintop, watching and waiting, believing and praying, asking and receiving. His faith produced an evidence of its reality. The facts that it produced substantiated the claims he made. But nothing has happened since this inspired and glorious soul walked the streets of his native towns, ministered to the sick, raised the dead, multiplied the loaves and fishes. Time is without beginning and end. Experience alone can change. Truth or reality, solid or substantial, is the foundation of sanity, and faith is available now. I have faith in the substance of every legitimate desire, faith that there will be an evidence, in fact, an actual experience of my belief in the invisible law of good. I ponder these things deeply in my heart. I turn my whole attention to the thought that there is such an invisible source, substance and reality. My whole mind accepts the idea that both riches and honor come out of thee, and in thine hand it is to make it great and to give strength to all. Okay. I think the last line is literally a Bible quote, which we do not have context for. And if you don't have this book, I suggest you get it. 365 Science of Mind, a Year of Daily Wisdom from Ernest Holmes, by Ernest Holmes. And read this one yourself. Because I struggled with it. The reason why I struggled with it is there's a lot of capital letters. So I'm thinking, oh, well, we're starting a new set. No, he just capitalizes a lot in this one. And he uses a lot of commas. So this is one of those that you probably want to really go and look at yourself, read it for yourself, just so that you can see all of the places where he capitalizes, where he's emphasizing. Because this is one of those, I've not seen him use that many capital letters before, so I was like, oh, okay. That's not a change in the sentence. So I strongly encourage you to get this book, please. This passage from Hebrews, which is, okay, now faith is the substance of the things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So that's the passage that he's referring to in the first paragraph. This passage from Hebrews means that faith rightly exercised will produce definite evidence, an effect molded from an invisible cause that is the substance of all things. Okay, so what is faith rightly exercised? I'm not sure that okay. I have an inkling. I don't have the whole answer, so let's go ahead and start there. Faith rightly exercised. One of the things that he's constantly, he's telling us two things constantly. One, conscious. So faith consciously exercised would be rightly exercised. And the other thing is that it tends towards life. It tends towards good. It tends towards better or well, where it is the faith is making conditions for life, improving conditions for life. I would say that would be another thing. If you ask Ernest what he thought faith rightly exercised would mean. One, consciously exercised, and two, trending towards life, trending towards good, and leaving no one out. Faith is not exclusionary. It's not about me, it's about we. So that's my first idea. Faith produces evidence, therefore faith creates fact. that's what science of mind teaches. We teach. It's like act as if you already have that which you are asking for, and it will come into your experience. So faith will create fact. It's not about just making stuff up to make stuff up. It is about what you truly desire, what you need to make life the best that it can be, for you and for everybody else. The one thing that we always have to remember is that we live in community. And so what I want for myself, I have to want for everybody. And if I can't want it for everybody, then I can't want it for myself. Or I can't see, inkling. This is the sum and substance of a spiritual life. So, to teach this was the mission of Jesus. So he spends this whole page, it's a fat paragraph, talking about Jesus and Jesus's faith creating fact. So Jesus, the mission of Jesus was to illustrate and demonstrate faith. He devoted his entire time and attention. And then, so he describes what he believes Jesus' experience was. What untold watching and waiting was his. And he uses an exclamation point there. Not a question, but an exclamation point. His entire time and attention. Okay. What untold watching and waiting was his. What careful and painstaking control of his thought, we do not know. So Ernest is saying, I suspect that he was very careful about his thought. He was painstaking control over his thought. He wanted to make sure that he was thinking the right thing. And then he talks about, so we know about Jesus' experience in the desert. We know about his experience in the mountaintop and in the garden, which Ernest doesn't mention, but I'm going to. Watching and waiting, believing and praying, asking and receiving. So watching and waiting, believing and praying, asking and receiving. His faith produced an evidence of its reality. In faith believing. Jesus came into this world in faith believing. And he left this world in faith believing. And all of the things that he did while he was there, he did in faith believing. He didn't question, he believed. And that's what made him who he was. And he continued to teach the entire time that anyone has this power. These things and more you shall do. Our faith, well, yes, he is the greatest example that has ever lived for us. I'm not going to say he's the only one. And others may have greater examples. There's been like 27 Buddhas, so he's the one we've been taught about, though. The facts that it produced substantiated the claims he made. But, and here's where Ernest says, but nothing has happened since this inspired and glorious soul walked the streets of his native towns, ministered to the sick, raised the dead, and multiplied the loaves and the fishes. And the question is why not? Because our faith isn't as strong enough. Our faith isn't as strong. Our control of our thought isn't as strong. We haven't found a soul willing to sacrifice its life. And I don't mean dying. But what I mean is sacrificing the life that you could have led to teach this. Think about it for a minute. Jesus could have gone on and been a nice little rabbi in, in a quiet little town, he could have gotten, well, he probably did get married, but he could have lived a nice quiet life. He didn't have to do what he did, except apparently he did have to do what he did. So he sacrificed the life he could have had for the life that he did because it was that important to him. Have we found something that we are willing to sacrifice the life that we have for the life that could be? And that's a question for the ages. Are you willing to sacrifice the life that you have for something that you believe in? And I'm not talking about dying. I'm not. I'm talking about radically changing what you do. I.e. the people who, midstream change careers and they sacrifice the life. Jesse was on Sunday, he was telling us about a minister who was a Science of Mind minister. He was a very good one from what I understand. Well liked, a good teacher, and he became very interested and concerned about water in Cambodia, clean water in Cambodia. So he sacrificed his ministry to change his ministry to work on that. That's what I mean by sacrificing your life. I don't know if being a Science of Mind minister is exactly comfortable, but come talk to me in 10 years. Time is without beginning and end. Experience alone can change. Truth or reality, solid or substantial, is the foundation of sanity, and faith is available now. So truth or reality, both with big capital letters, is the foundation of sanity, and faith is available now. Oof. Okay, so I have faith in the substance of every legitimate desire. Every legitimate desire, again, towards life, towards the good for everybody. When he says, that's why he uses that word legitimate. It's like, not every desire, because occasionally we have desires that really, I question where did that come from? And so, good for everybody is what Ernest would consider a legitimate desire. Faith that there will be an evidence, in fact, an actual experience of my belief in the invisible law of good. That's how Ernest lived. He's like, there is good. Well, that's Emma, sorry. There is good, you ought to have it. Well, that's how Ernest lived. Ernest was taught by Emma, and he lived by there's good and you ought to have it. I ponder these things deeply in my heart. I turn my whole attention to the thought that there is such an invisible source, substance, and reality. My whole mind accepts the idea that both riches and honor come out of thee, and in thy hand it is to make great and to give strength to all. So I'm going to go, okay, well, what is our mission today? Well, our mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to have faith in the substance of every legitimate desire, and faith that there will be evidence in the fact, actual experience. So have faith in what you ask for. Sometimes that's hard when it doesn't immediately happen. Sometimes time is our biggest enemy. My mortgage paying job is in the health food industry, and so what I have to remind people is these things will help, but two things have to happen. One, you actually have to open the bottle and take the stuff in the bottle, and two, you have to give it time. And if you are consistent in your, and that's it, consistent. If you are consistent in your practice, then anything is possible if you have faith. So, All right. We're going to ponder on that for today. I am going to move into the process of my day, so I'm going to remind you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. It is relatively cool out there. Please feel free to open the windows, get some fresh air, get a fresh perspective. Do something that engages the mind and the body. And remember, you control the windows of your soul, so please open them and allow the breath of heaven to remind you live in heaven now. You are the beloved child of God in whom Spirit is well pleased, always and forever. All right. Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. today. I will remind you it is Wednesday, so there is a book study. Check the email for the link to that. I think that happens at 6 o'clock on Zoom, and that's led by practitioners Monty and Shirley. Practitioners Monty and Shirley. They're studying the science of mind. It's a fantastic book. So check into that. And I will be back with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All right, beloveds, have a wonderful day.